your girl Maisha J, and welcome to Lifespring Diaries. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome to the diary. Thank you for taking a chance on us and opening the book. And if this is your, if you're a returning guest and you're coming back, thank you for turning the page again. Like, I see you. I see you. Today, I have my best friend in the whole wide world since like second grade, Vaneiqua Wilson, with me. Say hi.
Hey guys.
We would have loved to do it in person, but the weather was not weathering, so we had to do it virtual this time. But
But that's okay. The vibes are still here.
right. So, how are you? How are you, best friend?
I'm good. I'm good. I don't know if we want to get into some of this now, but I just graduated. I started my first big girl job. So, life is lifing in a different way right now. But
Right.
overall, I'm good. I'm good. How are you, friend?
Girl. Life, like you said, is life in, but I'm enjoying the ride. I feel like life is more, as much as it's challenging and very like unpredictable, it's I feel like right now in the space that I'm in, it's more exciting. Like, it's exciting, but like, terrifying at the same time. So anyone who doesn't know, because technically this is episode 1, and I feel like I couldn't do episode 1 without the person who's been supporting me along the way. Like, me and Vaneiqua been best friends since like second grade, like I said before. Like,
we go way back.
Ride or die to the end. Like, she like my sister, honestly, versus best friend. Like, she's like my sister. Honestly. And we've been rocking for a long time. Like, she's been in my life forever. I've been in her life forever.
I was about to say, we've seen her grow through multiple stages of our lives. So,
right.
Definitely family, definitely sisters at this point. But,
right. Yeah, I'm like, I take seconds in my life and I go like, wow, God really knocked off all these people like flies, and like, you're the one of the main people in my younger years who's just like right here with me. So it's just like
it's hard to find relationships like that and friendships like that that last through different like growing pains and different life events and all of that. So, God blessed us with that for sure.
He did, and I'm so grateful.
Yes.
All right, so we're gonna get into my little frosty social lounge, and we're gonna talk about some stuff. I'm gonna ask some questions, and we both gonna answer it, and the conversation's just gonna flow from there.
Okay.
So,
sounds good.
I'm 24. You're 24.
Turning 24, but yes, basically 24.
Yeah, turning 24, but basically 24. So, at this point in time right now, could you share a goal you have for the future? Like something you have that you're working on for the future? Because you had a lot of major accomplishments that, you just like happened. And it's gonna be interesting to see what you say right now, and then obviously as your story starts to unfold on here, it'll tie in. So
okay, that is a good question. I would say I'll just start with like career goals. So right now my goal is to like officially be certified. So I went to school for speech language pathology. And there's this thing we have to do after grad school where I always compare it to a doctor's residency. So we have to do like, it's called a clinical fellowship year where we're still under supervision and learning, but we're getting paid for it. So I'm doing that right now. My goal for the future is to obviously finish that. I should finish that in a few months. And get some experience under my belt. But I would say within 5 years, I want to open up my own private practice. Like I want to see my own building. And I want to grow it to the point to where it's essentially working for me, but the goal is to do it in like my neighborhood, because there's a lot, like, there's not quality healthcare in my neighborhood, and my agent knows what neighborhood. So, and I feel like there's no speech services in my neighborhood. I've seen a lot of people going further out, miles away, just to get the services that they need. So my goal is to, bring that to our area, because we deserve it. Why not? And it's like a predominantly Black community. So of course we need to have services like that and get it to the point where it, is working for me, and I get to relax and travel and do the things I really want to do. But, we're going to start small and just open it, right? And then career. Now, I would talk about like personal life. Um, right now, and I feel like this is like immediate goals, I'm getting more into, well, one, my relationship with God, but also like church and doing things at my church. So I do the dance ministry at my church, and I'm trying to find different ways for us to just branch out with the community and keep the ministry alive and interesting.
Mhm.
And even if that means like connecting with other churches in our area, I still want to like dance. I've danced my whole life. Maisha knows this. I'm just on hiatus right
Mhm.
now, dance life, but I want to eventually be able to teach dance, um, and teach what I've learned in a bigger capacity, and also like, I don't know, like just different. I just want to see where God uses me in ministry. Like, I feel like my name is being called for social media, is being called for this podcast as a ministry, it's being called to so many different things. I gave a sermon before, but I gave a sermon this year. Like, that was something and it was good. I'm still hearing about it till this day. So I'm like, wow.
I'm gonna attach it at the bottom of this. I'm just saying.
Where I'm like, God, you're really doing your thing. So I'm mainly just trying to see where he's taking me. I would say for the first time in my life, because my agent knows me, I don't have solid plans or goals for the future. Which, if anybody knows me, that's scary for me, because I'm a planner, like, to the T. But right now, I think this season of my life is just let go, let God. So wherever he brings me, that's where I'm going.
Oh, that's a line right there. Let go, let God.
Yeah. It's
I
hard.
like that. I'm
It's
gonna
hard.
write it down.
Yes. Yes. It's not easy, but that's literally my goals for life right now. Just let go, let God, and just take every day as it comes. But yeah, if I had to plan, those are my plans. But God's gonna do what he does. So that's
Right.
third.
I like that. You know what I like is that you're in a profession that when you think about it,
Mhm.
you think about you're going to be working for the rest of your life. Like, kind of thing. Like, it's
Mhm.
either you're working, and if you're not working, it's like
Mhm.
you would have to retire, kind of thing.
Right.
So it was really interesting to hear you say eventually switch it to where it's working for you. I
Yeah.
was like, heard the entrepreneur activity. Yes, but that's the first time I ever heard somebody in your field kind of like give that perspective. So that was dope. That was really cool. And I definitely feel you on the growing spiritually. I feel
Mhm.
like when it comes to me and you in particular,
Mhm.
this year, like between last year and this year, we did like a big transition. And the funny thing is, me and you did it simultaneously without knowing that both of us were doing it.
Because we spent so much time, like, just life, like, we were still always best friends, but life kind of, we were all over the place in our own personal lives. So we knew
Right.
we were both okay, right, with whatever we were doing, but we didn't get to have a lot of in-depth conversations to really know, like, that we're doing the same thing spiritually, and just didn't know.
Did it? And I think the funniest moment that I look back on is when you texted me you was getting baptized, and I was a week away from getting baptized, and
Mhm.
I was like, no way.
I think I just sent you the video too. I don't even. I was just like, just got baptized today. Here's the video.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, like no warning. You was just like, boop, just got baptized today, and I was just like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh. And then I started crying and stuff like that. And then, like, I had some issues I was dealing with before I got baptized, and I thought I was alone in that category. And then I remember, like, later on, either at one of your barbecues or events, we were sitting down and we were talking, and you was like, bro, I had the same moment. Like, I kind of, like, in a way messed up the week before my baptism, and I felt like I just fumbled the bag. Like, so it was just so cute, like, how we're just
Yeah.
like,
Literally, it's like we're just finding this out. So it's like good to know that we're growing together, so we have each other's support in this moment.
yes.
It's not
And I
easy.
feel like, yeah. And I feel like our friendship, it's like, it's going to get only stronger now because, like, we have each other to rely on. Like, I've never been the person to be like, can you pray for me? But, like, when I'm going through things, I feel like, Vaneiqua,
Because
help me. Like,
yes,
pray for me on your behalf. Like, I remember the first time you sent me a prayer over me, I was like, in tears. And I was at an event. So I'm listening to this. I'm listening to it at an event.
mm-hmm.
And then I'm listening to it again while I'm driving home.
Aw,
And
I'm.
then when I get home, I'm having like a emotional moment.
Mhm.
Like like crying and stuff like that. And I felt like a lot just broke off of me that day.
Mhm.
So I was just like, dang,
Oh,
best friends. This is what you need.
yes,
Like,
yes, but okay, I'm happy that you said that because I mean, not to kind of change the subject a little bit, but I always say I'm not like one of those prayer warriors. You know, those people who can just pray
oh
over you
yeah.
and you like, you know
Oh
what I'm saying?
yeah.
Prayer warrior. I never felt like I was that.
Yeah.
I could say my own prayers, for myself, but I never see my one as someone to be able to intercede over somebody else and step in the
Mm-hmm.
gap when they need. So when you like for you to say that, I'm like, oh, I'm so happy that you said that it blessed you, that it helped you. So I'm like, I'm just,
Yeah.
but people pray in different ways. So I don't know. I'm happy about that. But like you said, to have people to call on when you need it. And I feel like we're at a weird stage in our 20s where it's like, yeah, we need people. Like, we need spiritual warriors next to us. We need people of faith. We need people who are like minded near us to help us because life is not easy. And especially a
Right.
life, like there's even more on top of that, you know, it's tough. It's tough, but it's worth it. I always say it's worth it. Tough, but worth
It
it.
is. And then, like, it's funny because the one thing this year that I consistently asked
Mm-hmm.
God was, can you provide me with more friends who are on that walk? Like, who I have a decent amount of friends, but I don't have a lot who are in my transitioning page. Like, even if it's not on the same level that I'm at, like, I just still don't have a lot of people in that transitioning phase. And I felt like he's been telling me between yesterday and the last couple of months, like, honey, some of the friends you have are like that you're asking for are right in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
And before I give you new friends, let me reveal to you the ones you have already.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's when me and you started talking about it more. Even like your best friend Ash, who she's like my friend now, so
Yes. We're all we're all friends.
we're all close. And Sonora and
Mhm.
I'm trying not to name drop too many people, but
Yeah.
Tanasia and the
Mhm.
people I know are gonna come on this pod eventually, like
Right. Right.
um yeah, I'm like, dang, I didn't know. Like, whenever I have a conversation with somebody, I'll be like, you love Jesus? Like,
Yeah.
okay.
To have somebody that like loves him as much and like has puts priority or puts him at the highest priority in their lives too, because it hits different. And I had
Right.
the same exact like prayer at the beginning of the year, like the beginning of the new year, like, God, I want more people, more spiritual, like more friends who know you, who love you, who keep you at the center of their lives. Because I think I told you this, but I had went to a Christmas party with this girl that we went to middle school with, that I'm still friends with. She invited me to her Christmas party. They're Christians, all of her friends are Christians, and the environment was so wholesome and welcoming. And I was like, this is the type of friendship, this is the type of people I want around me. Did I not, I fit into their group, but I was like, never was able to keep hanging out with them again. Um, they
Right.
still invite me to things, but it's always a conflict for because of my personal schedule. But I think in the same way, like God revealed me to you, He revealed you to me. Like you have
Yeah.
people all around you that are thinking the same things as you, that love me just like you do. So yeah, just to echo what you said, he has people in our lives for a reason. So
He funny. He got a sense of humor too. Cause
yeah, yeah.
yesterday I had an encounter
Mhm,
with a friend and we're conversating
mhm,
and we go hours talking to each other.
mhm,
And there were moments that conversations about the Bible came up, but
mhm,
it wasn't like I'm trying to find a word, but it
mhm.
wasn't like ah, it wasn't like
Like
are you on the same timing as me? Like,
right.
like are we here? Like it
Mhm,
wasn't one of those moments. It was more like, all right, I see you know a little something, something, okay.
mhm.
Like I
Right.
felt like that was the vibe. But we were talking about a whole bunch of different things. We was talking about life and just me and the person just kept bringing up like we're in a new transition. Like we
Mhm.
just kept saying that. And then later on in the night, I'm ready to get off the phone. I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
good. Like I'm ready to get off. And
Uh-huh.
because I was tired and
Yeah.
we've been out all day. And they kind of like switched gears into the conversation
Uh-huh.
and it unlocked this even longer conversation that
Uh-huh.
led to the transition that both of us were going through was literally technically the same transition of like we're dying to self, we're dying to this old life we lived, and we're
Mhm.
like seeking back our father, we're seeking back God and building that relationship and stepping in some new shoes and moving forward. And I was just sitting there and last night and this morning like, you're funny.
Never
I
fails.
was like, wow.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy. I love it. I love it when things like that happens because it's like, God, I know that was
Yeah.
you. Like, I just know that was you. Because like you said, you were talking
Mm-hmm.
on the phone and then all of a sudden this like y'all were meant to be on that phone together last night. It was meant to be.
Yes.
Oh, I love
I'm
that.
saying, I'm like, I'm still in like shock about it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, that's what happened yesterday. I just thought yesterday was going to be a simple workout, knock out
Right.
some few things and just, chop it up with some of my friends and that's it and get ready for today. But
Right.
it was totally 360 and I was like, okay.
Yeah. Listen. And I'm sure both of you guys were like fed by each other. You were able to
Mm-hmm.
support each other, and that back and forth is how we sustain ourselves. So nice.
Yes.
It
I'm
feels
hoping that we get to have more, like I want to do a group chat at one point
like,
where like just people of like-mindedness just come together and just feed off of each other. So if y'all want to be a part of that, drop a
yeah.
little comments, let us know. We'll throw that together. I think
Mhm.
like one of the amazing things, which is going to tie into one goal that I had, is I'm a part of your Bible study
Right.
and I'm a part of a Bible study on Saturday.
Hmm.
And I have one on Thursday. It's not, no offense, my favorite one, but
Hmm.
um I'm like I don't feel like I'm a preacher. Like I don't feel like I'm I'm on the
Hmm.
main stage kind of stuff.
Okay.
I mean, hey, if he brings me to that point, okay. I'll listen, I'll obey.
Drop
But
a
I
word.
feel like
Mhm.
right. I feel like my ministry platform is gonna kind of be from this space,
Mhm.
or even like having my own Bible study and
Mhm.
stuff like that, or doing little conferences and events. And
Mhm.
one of the things I'm working on is a performing arts school. So I feel like everything that I'm doing on my like entrepreneur aspect
Mhm.
is like tying into it. And
Right.
it's like mini entertainment, mini giving back, mini fun
Mhm.
and stuff like that. So I feel
Mhm.
like that's where he has me like settling and planting my seeds in. But I
Yeah.
mean, whatever else he got in store for me, it is what it is. But like one of my goals is to like have a Bible study kind of thing and
Yeah.
just really like
Yeah, I like that. I can see that happening for sure. I love that. I feel great things about this podcast, which is why I'm like so excited about this. And I really do feel like this is one of your main ministries, even though you're like multi innovative, multi talented. You have a bunch of other ministries that are blossoming and forming and brewing. But
yeah.
what I'm super excited for. And I wanted to say, like, you don't have to be a preacher, to
That's a
know
fact.
or to pour into other people, and for people
hmm
to feel blessed by it. And I feel like that was something that I thought too in the past. Like I gotta know my Bible from front to back. Not that I don't
hmm
know certain things, but I'm still reading. I'm still in my aspects of reading and learning and growing. But when you connect with him in that way, when you connect with him in prayer, in reading, in worship, and all of those things, he will put those words and those what do you want to call it, teachings into your lap so that you can pour into other people. So
hmm
it'll come. As
Yeah.
long as he's in the midst of whatever it is, it'll come. So
Right.
I'm
Right. So that ties into my next question just a little bit.
okay.
Um, because of our new lifestyle change, like
Mhm.
what is your typical free day like? Like if
Hmm.
you no work, you kind of have a free day to do whatever you want. Like what does it currently look like and what do you want it to look like? Cuz I feel like you can there's a best of both worlds kind of thing.
True. Okay, so my typical free day, I'm gonna just talk about before work because my free days now consist of kept like finishing work stuff and just relaxing. But before that, in between school and work, it was just honestly relaxing, enjoying family time, time with my friends because these are all things I couldn't do. Well, not couldn't do, but just didn't have. I feel like enough time for between the 4 years of
Yeah.
undergrad and being away, and then the 2 years of grad school that was like all consuming. So I spent that time to literally just have my friends over, like you, um, spend time with my family, spend time with my niece and my sister, and all of that. So that's what my time consisted
Right.
of. In a spiritual aspect, it consisted of me reading my Bible, actually, because this is the first year, mind you, like, I know some people, come into their relationship with God later. I grew up in the church, so, but this is the first year, the first time, not my first attempt, but the first time in my many attempts to read the Bible that I'm actually reading and understanding what I'm reading.
I felt that. I felt that.
I made attempts before and I'm like, I can't get into it. Um,
Mhm.
and I couldn't understand certain things. But now I'm like, I'm reading and I'm understanding. So my free time consisted of I would at least spend I was trying to do in the morning, to read for a few minutes. I would say maybe up to 20, 30 minutes in the morning.
Mhm.
So that's what my free time consisted of. Did I do that today? Not yet. But we're doing this challenge. I'm gonna definitely spend my time doing that tonight. But yeah, that's what my free time consisted of. Family, friends, and God. My Bible, basically.
Right.
Hmm.
The funny thing that you mentioned was how you attempted to read the Bible before, but it wasn't nothing like
Yeah,
or it
yeah,
wasn't interesting or anything like that. It was just like, let me just get through this book and
right.
whatever, you know?
Hmm.
And now, like, with the help of some pastors who like when they speak about the Bible, they animate it,
Yeah,
made me learn how to animate the Bible. So
yeah.
like I'm like now when
It's
I read it, I'm like, yo,
yeah.
this book is all genres.
Yes,
It's all genres.
yes.
You
And
got
there's
your
some
murder
stuff going
mystery.
on in the Bible. There's a lot of stuff happening in that Bible that it's like, oh, okay.
hmm
I see what that was
You got
doing.
cheating. You got you lust. You have murder mystery. You have violence. You have love. You have peace. You have joy. You
Yeah,
have the rise of men and fall of men. Like you have like literally any genre that you read regularly in these like science fiction and all the other books. Like
yeah,
it's in the Bible. Like 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 Samson. His book is
yeah, yeah.
his book is spicy. Like his book is compared to things that happen in today's society. Like
Mhm. Yeah.
we're not even gonna get into it right now.
That's another story. Another podcast.
But yeah, another one. But yeah, like so like you, I'm reading the Bible more. And
Mhm.
I'm reading books. I was never a book person. You will never
Mhm.
catch me reading. Like it just wasn't my thing. Like anything that avoided reading and it was more of the visual aspect, I was down for it. But um I read more not only the Bible, but I read other books. Some of them are suggested books like
Okay.
I watch a lot of podcasts.
Mhm.
So like one of my favorite podcasts right now is The Basement with Tim Ross. And
Oh,
like he has guests come on and some of them have books. Like one guy, his name, I don't want to butcher his name, but the book is called The Awe of God. And I
mhm.
started reading that. And let me tell you, that book,
I have to get that book. It's in the I
it's
gotta
a
get.
good book. Like I feel like that book is the first book um somebody who's trying to enhance their walk or get on their walk should read,
Mhm.
because I feel like it will make loving God and seeking him, like wanting to seek him even more of like a hunger and a thirst kind of thing.
Mhm.
Um yeah, so like that I'm reading that right now and I'm reading some other books too.
Okay.
Um like I said, I watch a lot of podcasts now, kind of like to
Mhm.
distract me from TV a little bit.
Oh,
So I watch Soft Life Through Christ, The
oh yeah.
Basement with Tim Ross. There's a girl on YouTube. I feel like her name is Melissa, but I might be wrong. But
Mhm.
I'll throw some names on there down below. But I watch
Mhm.
a couple of podcasts. I
Mhm.
definitely listen to a lot of Christian and gospel music.
Oh, same,
Um,
same.
I work out more now. Like
Mm.
I'm in the gym, pumping that iron,
Good like you.
and then I I I try to hang out with family and I try to hang out with friends and I try to prioritize that more because I want to like maintain these friendships,
Right.
especially because I might be moving out of New York before the end of this year. So it's like I need to build that foundation now before I leave and it's even harder.
Mhm.
Um, so like, maintaining friendships and then I'm just like trying new things. I feel like in my lifetime I had trouble being by myself. Like I had trouble being okay with my company. And
Mhm.
so like my free day would consist of trying to seek people to make my day go like, hey, you want to go out to eat? Hey, you want to get cake? Hey, you want to, do something? You want, like I was always seeking someone else to add to my enjoyment. So
Mhm.
now before I even consider that, it's like, okay, what can I do by myself today? Like, and then, right now I'm trying to give myself a little bit of pep talks to
Right.
like, okay, go sit in a coffee shop and just sit there for like, grab a cup of coffee, or I'm not a coffee drinker, but like
Right.
tea, and something like that. Grab some food and just sit there and eat, or like go for a walk on the beach since it's summertime right now. Like I'm trying to convince myself to do like some lonely. I don't want to call it lonely, but like me time, self care, outing. So yeah, that's kind of like what my free day consists of.
That I was saying you're dating yourself, and that's,
Yeah.
like you have to be able to be alone before you're able to be with somebody else. And I think the biggest
Right.
in that is recognition and like understanding that. So I'm proud of you, friend. That sounds so much fun. I need to take myself on a coffee date too. I like that.
Yeah. I have all kinds of dates. Like, and when I say dates, I don't mean like I'll be outside dating all these men or something.
Date
Like,
with
no.
yourself.
Yeah, like I usually set a time every day.
Mm,
Right now it's been the 2 o'clock time.
okay.
But I set a time and I call it my lunch date with God. And I
Mm,
just specifically try to spend time in his word, talk to him. I talk to him throughout the day, but
yeah.
like talk to him more in depth than just
Mm,
praise him and worship him and all that stuff. Like I read those
that.
books that speak highly of him and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I dedicate that time to him. And then
Mm-hmm.
like I started doing a mommy daughter lunch date
Mm-hmm.
because like I feel like even though me and my mom are around each other 24/7 and our relationship is so strong,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's still surface level. Like it's not
Yeah.
like it's a lot, but I feel like that a lot is still surface level. Like I feel like me and my mom still need that time where it's like, so where you at? Like what's
Yeah.
going on? Like, what's girl chat a little bit.
Yeah. I like that. Mm-hmm.
So yeah. And then now I'm trying to date myself. So I'm trying to like,
Yeah.
get myself going. So
That's all good things. I'm so happy about that. I need to adapt some of those, like some of those things, especially the lunch hour with God. I love that idea.
yeah.
Just spending more time with Him, as you said, and you mentioned something about like listening to gospel music, and that's something I do too. On my like, I don't even listen to non gospel secular music as much anymore. It just doesn't feed me as much. If you do, there's nothing wrong with that,
Yeah.
That's it. But for me, I know that like my gospel music is blasting through my ears, and when I'm commuting to work or when I was commuting to school, like it's what gets me through, to be honest, and gives me encouragement I need. So that's my little time with God too, and my Bible time is my time with God, and try to pray and church and all of those things. So yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
at the second part of that question was, I think, how would you change like how you've been spending your free time?
Yeah, like what do you want to adopt into your like going into the future?
Okay, so yeah, I would adopt like just for that time that I spend with God to become more natural, more embedded in my schedule than me. Like I don't know, like for it to be more fluid. Like if somebody says, "Oh, we'll go here, here, here at this time," I'll be like, "Nope, let's do it for after two because I need to spend my hour with God." Like I'm booked. So,
Yeah.
so
I like that. I'm booked. I'm booked and busy.
right. So just to get to that point, and I like
Mm-hmm.
that through our Bible study that we share together on Wednesdays, we're currently doing this challenge for a week where we have to spend, I think it was like an hour um,
Yeah.
with God, and in that hour, it has to be at least like some praise and worship embedded in that, some prayer embedded in that. At least I think she said 15 minutes of
Yeah.
straight, and then time reading the Bible. I think it was 30, maybe something like
Yeah. I think it was 15, 15, 30. Yeah.
that. So that's what I want to adopt in my daily life. Period. We're also fasting
Right.
for that, but that's a whole. So yeah.
Right. Me, I like, like I said, like try to do more self-care dates. Like,
Mm,
try to date myself more because I feel like everything else is gonna come.
absolutely.
but I feel like that's going to be my hardest challenge. Just doing it solo dolo.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like my main one. And
Mm-hmm.
then you brought up something. You
Uh-huh.
said music.
Yes, yes.
When I tell you, like, um, I pretty much cut off I don't want to call it secular music
I know.
because like there's like a debate about it all, and I'm like, I just don't listen to non-Christian or gospel music. And I
Same.
separate the two because I feel like you have Christian rap, Christian gospel, like Christian Caribbean and reggae, and
Yeah.
Christian R&B and Christian soul, and then
Yes.
you have your gospel, like that is just
True.
like
That's
a
true.
hardcore like worshiping moment.
Praise
Not
and
to say the
worship.
other ones are not worshiping, but like it's
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 different.
you know, like that is like you might cry. Like
Yeah. Like you
like the
know.
other ones is more like, you know, you show the
Yeah.
you know, but you know,
There is
the
a difference.
gospel one is kind of like the tears is coming like
Yeah.
and yeah, and like when I tell you that got that Christian reggae and Caribbean hit different, like I be sitting here moving my hips. I just don't be whining or nothing on
Yeah.
nobody, but I
Yeah.
still be over here like, and they be speaking facts.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They be talking to God and everything, and I be like, okay, hey,
You have to put me on to some of the Christian reggae. I have Christian.
yes,
I have like Christian like Afro beats. Gospel. Gospel Afro beats, I guess if you will. But I do
mm-hmm.
like that you said there is some sort of a difference. Like true worship music. We were talking about this a little while ago, but
Yeah,
it's like purely just reverence to God versus songs that
yes,
like they're speaking of God, they're speaking of him highly, but it's more so like for enjoyment.
it's for you, like
Yeah, exactly.
it's to hype you up, you know.
Okay, exactly. Like
And the
I
other
definitely
one,
so um my Christian rap and all of that when I'm getting ready to go out or something like that, when I'm getting ready to go to church,
yeah,
whatever it is, when I'm getting ready, that's what I start to play now. Versus if I just need a moment with God, you're gonna hear me crying and singing,
you
but
gonna
like
hear that Tasha Cobbs and Taylor LeMan.
Marvin Saps and all of them. Even Uncle Kurt got his songs.
Yeah, he do. Yeah, I separated the two because before I just looped them all together. Like I was just like,
Exactly.
music is music. It's just word. Like it's all talking about God, whether it's talking to him or
Mhm.
not. Like it's just one category. I separated it
Mhm.
because in a sermon at a church I attend virtually,
Mhm.
they had said they were going. It was a worship series,
Mhm.
and they were breaking down the different types of worship. And it
Got
was just like worship is one of the only forms of like gifts we can give to him, you
it.
know? And
Mhm.
so they were saying, so when I thought about that and they said, music is one of them, I was
Right.
just like, I think the songs that are actually talking to him and giving him that praise and that gratitude and that,
Mhm.
love, I feel like that's the worship to him versus like the other like Christian rap and Christian R&B
Right.
is talking good and great about him. But
Mhm.
it's for us. Like it's to hype us up and keep us going because like
Exactly.
life be life and so,
Exactly.
it's like hype music for us. Like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
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 Like,
It's hype
you
music.
know?
I agree with that. I like that. Like you said, songs are a way of showing our gratefulness and our thankfulness and worshiping God.
Yeah.
It's important, like the songs that you choose in the moments. Like I don't know. Don't We're not trying to ruffle any feathers, but
No, we not. This is just our lifestyle.
our opinions, and we don't judge others. That's what
Yeah.
we do. So
Safe space, guys.
yeah, yes.
Yes. So, my next question.
Okay. Are we still in the lounge?
We in the lounge still. We in the lounge. We in the lounge. We still in the lounge. um, if you could have had a convo with your younger self, right?
Oh.
What advice would you give? Like, what advice would you have given to your younger self if you had a chance to spend time with your younger self? And also, when you're creating your response, think about not only your younger self, think about the younger generation.
Mm.
Because even though you can't go back to talk to your younger self, I feel like the advice that you would give to your younger self still applies to the youth of today.
Mm-hmm. I just want to say, before I get into the answer to that question, this is your ministry friend, because how, like, these that question is so good and layered. I love that. I love it. It's so good. It's so layered. It's so real and raw.
You got me cheesing right now. Like,
We're only in the, you know, in the lounge part of the conversation, but that's deep.
right.
So my answer to myself, to the younger generation, would be: you don't have to compromise your morals and your relationship with God to fit in. You don't have to follow the world and the ways of the world to feel like you're a part of something, because you're already a part of something. So,
right.
for example, like the idea of drinking, smoking. I've done all of that. Drinking, smoking, going to parties, even though, like, maybe I wasn't the most comfortable, or um, entering relationships, or becoming intimate with people, even though I felt like it wasn't something that I should have been but doing anyway. Like,
Mm,
you don't have to do that, because you're a part of something greater. Like,
right.
like, and it's not that in those times, and this wasn't that long ago, it's not that in those times we're not that old, like college, undergrad wasn't that long ago.
No.
2 years ago now, when I graduated from undergrad, but like still, or from that age of undergrad. It's not that I didn't have God, it's not that I didn't know God. I would say my relationship with God wasn't as strong as it is now. Or just even my mindset was, I can still love God but still follow the ways of the world. And we shouldn't be hot and cold with God.
right.
Like, we can't be in and out, right? So, and he gives us time and free will to figure that out. He still loves us either way, even if we are hot and cold. I will say,
Hmm.
there are things that I've gotten through that I didn't even think I would get through. And I wouldn't say my relationship with God is not as strong, wasn't as strong then as it is now, although I still love him. So yeah, that would be my advice. Like, you're a part of the kingdom. You're a part of something bigger and greater than we can even imagine. You have a heavenly Father that loves you more than you can imagine. Um, and we don't need to appease the world to be loved, to be accepted, to be a part of the in crowd. Like, he
You
set us
speaking
apart.
that facts.
No, like, he set us apart for a reason. He set us. He designated us for a purpose, for a specific reason. So if you feel like, I wish I knew that then. I wish I would have been in Bible studies, and like, I was still watch my church here and there, or online, because that's the age of everything being online. Um,
Yeah.
or I would, at my school we had a gospel choir. I wasn't singing in the choir, but I was dancing for the choir, and I would still pray. Like, my roommate Ashley, we could talk about God often and frequently. So when we were doing those secular things, those worldly things, going out to parties, drinking, whatever, we will always come back to our room. And I hope she doesn't mind me telling this, but we will always come back to our dorm room and end up in a deep conversation with God. And we would always feel almost convicted for, and remember, God is a loving God, right? He's loving. But
Hmm.
we have, like, ways of knowing what was right and what was wrong, and we would always feel like, oh man, why do we do that? We didn't need to do that. Like, we could have still gone and had a good time without indulging in things that we know aren't good for us. So
Right.
yeah, I wish I knew that before. I feel like there's decisions and things I've done that I could have gone without. Like, there's a relationship that my agent knows about that in the past, my past relationship, I don't know about, was great. My relationship now is Gucci. But the relationship in the past, I really feel like I could have gone without. And I feel like that relationship,
Guilty of that. I did that to you.
and I'm pouring out my diary. This is being fully transparent. I feel like that relationship, I entered into it quickly because I thought that I needed it. I thought that, everybody at my
Mm.
age has somebody that they're with. Everybody at my age has somebody that they already was intimate with, that they already had somebody who, they was in relationships with. I felt like, oh, I ain't have that yet. Let me go
Right.
do that. Let me catch up with my friends. Let me catch up with the crowd. I didn't need to do that. Like God set me
Right.
apart for a reason. God set us apart for a reason. So that's all I would say. Like, you have a purpose. It's gonna feel that you're missing out. Even till this day, right now, I feel like there are certain things like that other people just don't understand. Like, for example, if I go out now, okay, no, let me stop. I still drink, y'all. That's a vice. That's a vice that I'm still trying to grasp a hold of. But um controlling how I do that. Like, we can enjoy ourselves, but not overindulge, right? Because gluttony is one of those things that we need to be mindful of. So even being
Right.
mindful of, like, now, you don't need to follow the crowd. You don't need to take 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 shots and have 3 million mixed drinks to feel like you're in. You can sip on your wine and be good. Like, you don't have to indulge in the ways of the world to be
Right.
accepted. So that was my long spiel for that answer, but that was a
It
layered.
was a nice long spill.
I hope the response made sense.
Yes, it did to me. I hope it made sense to everybody too.
Okay.
And another thing you said that made me think about certain basketball players.
Hmm.
I can't remember in this moment right now who it was, but he had did an interview and he was saying like, I don't drink, I don't party, I don't do none of that. He said, don't let me be, not doing that stuff affect me from y'all having y'all fun. That's just not the time
Yeah,
that I'm on. And it's like,
exactly.
you could be the flyest man, flyest girl out there, and it speaks volumes when you set yourself apart and you don't
Yeah,
disrespect about it. You know,
yeah,
you just
right.
That's just my body now. That's
Yeah.
no shame to y'all. Like
Mhm.
that's just
And
how
that's the
I'm
biggest
moving.
component. It's like, it's not, again, nothing is shade to anybody. It's not to
Yeah,
help anybody. This is just my opinions on myself, what I would have advised myself to do, because I know my own
yeah.
body, I know my own mind. But if you still drink, if you still smoke, if you still party, ain't no judgment here. Go ahead and have fun, you know. But if you have those same, I would say, like, trust your mind, trust God, trust your spiritual, like, your spiritual growth and where you are. And if you feel like that's not something that you should be doing, trust that, lean into that, pray on that, like, and that's all I can say about that.
Right. And then something you said tied into what my response was going to be for
Mhm,
my younger self and or the younger generation is that it's like two parts to it.
mhm,
You don't have to be perfect when you come to him.
mhm,
I used to feel like I had to clean myself up, sever
mhm,
all these stuff, and come to him like, all right, I'm good now. Like,
mhm.
and it was just like, if it was that easy, it, everyone would be perfect. Like, and we're not. Like, we have our quirks. We live in a world of sin and temptation and all that stuff. So things happen sometimes.
Yeah,
But like, you don't have to come to him perfect. And also don't compare your walk to anybody else's, because even though
yeah,
I'm able to read the Bible and read it in full color, don't mean that because you're not lacking in that department doesn't mean that you don't have a powerful testimony or you don't have
Right.
an even stronger relationship with him where he's going to say well done to you.
Mm-hmm.
Give yourself grace and don't look at other people's journey. Stay on, like, focus on yours. My therapist has said to me, you can only control your thoughts, your words, and your actions.
Yeah.
And I found that very, like, touching. And I felt like, I was like, yo, that's the most, I wish I had some kind of advice like that from before, because, you know, my actions and how I move and operate on this earth will speak volumes, and my thoughts, will take me far, especially if my thoughts are God's thoughts. My
Yeah.
words, the power of life and death comes off your tongue. I butchered how it's actually said in the Bible, but you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
your tongue is powerful. So speaking life into people and not like judging and bashing and all that stuff, like that
Mm-hmm.
speaks volumes on its own. And that carries more character than anything else. So, like, you
Mm-hmm.
know, that's important.
I like that.
And I would also say that you should get to a point where you fear God. And I know that something sounds really crazy because in the Bible, when you read fear God, I used to be like, what you mean? Like, fear God? Like, I don't want to fear that man. Like, but that's because I associated fear with like scary and all that other stuff. And like as I'm learning in this new book, like that's not like the fear of God is different. Like
Yeah.
it's a love, it's a relationship. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like when you fear him, like when it's called, they call it holy fear. When you
Mm-hmm.
have that holy fear, your walk begins to enhance because your perspective on things is not the same. Like
Right.
for example, I'm trying to think. Fornication is considered a sin, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at it, especially if you're someone who's tasted it, like tasted sex and all that stuff like that, you enjoyed it at one point. You
Yeah.
enjoyed it at one point, and now as you want to be friends with God, you want to build that relationship with Him. You find out it's a no no. Like that's a sex till you wait till you get married and stuff like that, and you kind of start to understand the concept of why you shouldn't, but it still feels like I sinned, or but like there's
Mm-hmm.
some kind of traction between that sin, right?
Yeah.
Like it seems more like a punishment and all that other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like when you start to fear God, it's like, you ever heard your friends or heard other people say like, you supposed to hate what I hate, you supposed to love what I love, kind of thing, that attitude. That I feel like that kind of applies to friends, but not really. Like that applies to our life, but I feel like that really only applies to God. Like when
Mm-hmm.
you really rocking with him, you hate what he hates, you love what he loves. He loves sinners, he hates sin. Like, so when you move in that attitude where you love everybody despite what they do, you just hate the act itself, so you don't take part in it. You
Right.
move different. Like you move different. Like, and it becomes easier because it's not like you rocking with Shanice. So, like like, just how this bro code, like think of it as God code. And I feel like that's where holy fear comes in,
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I that would be my advice, and or like,
Mm-hmm.
speech to the younger generation and to my younger self. Like, you don't have to come to him perfect. Come
Mm-hmm.
as you are. Don't compare yourself to anybody else. Just it's an intimate relationship between you and God, and grow and seek that holy fear, because it's just going to make everything else make sense and feel a little bit more lighter. Like you'll be able to just trust him and rely on him more and stuff like that.
Yeah. I wanted to just touch on when you said like a holy fear. When I think of it as like, we talked about this a little bit in our Bible study, and I like this perspective that was brought up. The perspective was that think of God like your parent, because He is our Heavenly Father. And it's not that you don't have a good relationship
Right.
with your parents, or that, you can't be buddy buddy with them, but there's a certain fear you have of them. For me, it's more so I don't want to disappoint my God with my actions.
Right.
I don't want to just the same way I wouldn't want to disappoint my mom with things that I decide to do. I definitely don't want to disappoint God with the things I decide to do. Because if y'all ever experienced disappointment, there was one time in my life where I disappointed my mom, and I felt like the world was crashing around me. And that is that was my mom. My world, my mom. Now imagine God, right? It's just a certain level of like disappointment that you have it with yourself, that you're like, oh man, like I don't want to disappoint him. Like he loves me, he trusts me, he has so much hope and faith in me. And I did that one thing that I've been, praying to him that I wouldn't do or tried to not do. So it's like a certain level of disappointment or conviction, if you will. A lot of people use the word conviction. But
Yeah.
just because you do it doesn't mean that he loves you less. Like as
Right.
you said, God loves everybody. He loves everybody, regardless of what you do, and nobody's perfect. But that doesn't mean he wants better, like that he does not want better for you. I think that's the goal. He wants better for you. He knows you can do better. So in whatever that situation is. So I'm speaking for myself personally. I felt like he knew I could have been stronger, if that makes sense. Mine should probably make sense
Yeah.
about, but not to be, going too much into depth, because, I could have been stronger in controlling myself, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
So in that way, I knew God wanted me to, he had a certain level of expectation for me, for my personal situation in that moment. And when I didn't live up to that, I felt like I let him down and I let myself down. So that's what I mean, as
Right.
that fear. But I feel like we all have our own, within our own relationships, it'll feel different. It'll be different. But that's how I think of
Right.
godly fear. But I know he loved me regardless. I still, he still carries me through every day. He still,
That's a fact.
working on.
That's
It's,
a fact. I can't live my life without him. No cat.
no. And every single thing I've done in life, I will always say it was God. I always give glory to him. Because he's the one who got me through every single thing, and to the point where I'm at now. I could not. And that's why I say I still had a relationship with God in college. It's just I was in and out. I was like, oh, God,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you for getting me through this semester. Let me go party now. Like
Yeah.
so
It's like you praised him on the good moments. Like
yeah,
people still do it to this day now. Like,
right.
championship trophy won. Thank God. I want to just thank God. But like no one really like does it
Right.
the whole way through. Like
Yeah.
they don't even thank him for waking up this morning because we
Right.
all know.
Yeah, because we don't
The way he got Job, he had Job. Thank you.
the fingers. People in the Old Testament, people was dropping like flies for their sin. So yes.
I don't think I could have.
Mhm.
I
Oh no.
don't think I could have endured. I'm so grateful because
Yes.
Old Testament is gangsta.
Yes. God was about it. Oh my gosh.
Business.
I'm
He
I'm
was
up
about
to,
it.
yes. I'm up to, what is it? I'm in Leviticus now because I'm reading the Bible from front to back. So I'm going like in
Same.
order. I don't really want to bounce around. I bounce around when I need something personal, like I need something to get me through, and I'm like, I was reading Psalm 91 yesterday because I really needed that. But
Right.
in Leviticus right now, and just before that, the Israelites, they was messing up. They was messing up. They had this whole idol that they was worshiping while Moses was up there talking with God, and God was like, "Look at your people. I'm gonna get them." And to sum it up, this is my interpretation of it. But to sum it up, and basically, I was like, oh wow, oh shoot. Moses had to talk God down. Moses was like, "Wait, God, hold on, give them a second. Let me sort them out.
Easy.
Hold up." You know what? I don't. There's like a meme that's like, hold up, God. So God was about that. He was ready to knock people out for not, doing His will and doing the things that He was asking them to do. So
Let me tell you about him. He is I sometimes when I read that chapter,
Uh-huh.
I said God's the holy gangster.
He
Like I
is.
don't be sentimental about the word gangster, but he was a
Yes,
gangster because
yes.
when he pulled up like
He
he
was
pulled up and he played no games. Like he was the real OG gangster.
like,
Like
they did that, gone. Oh, they did that, gone. Like he was.
but he gave you chances. You just had to come to that tabernacle correct. Like
Yes, yes. And as you said, like everything we say is our opinions, our understanding of things. Like we're not trying to
yeah.
so don't go crazy about the word gangster. We're just, if y'all don't know, we're from New York, so we have a little certain lingo.
Yeah.
Um,
We got lingo for sure.
no ways about it. We love God, right? We love
Yeah.
our Father, so we don't.
But sometimes you gotta the terminology that we have now, like
Mm-hmm,
transparent moment. I was in a Bible study and I used the word hustler.
mm-hmm,
And this lady, I feel like she tried to come at me
mm-hmm.
gracefully, but it came off very like disrespectfully. Like
Yeah.
and I'm like, dang, like even though we have our perception of certain words, you gotta kind of ask somebody what their
Yeah.
intent behind it is. Like when we say gangster, we don't mean he was out here like. I mean, he a little bit, but like we don't mean the full like how you look at a gangster in today's society.
Yeah.
Like when I say hustler, I don't mean like scamming people and all that stuff. But when we use certain dialogue, it's not always like by thesaurus and dictionary,
Yeah.
carved in stone words. So
Mm-hmm.
just wanted to throw that little buffer out there.
Yes, and I talk about that real quick, just a little nugget. I don't care for the fact that that lady said that, but also I will say that in my church right now we're talking about language and our like we're in the season of how do we reach people in different ways, and sometimes it's not always by so thou art and all
Mm-hmm.
the King James version language that you may hear, because not all people connect with that. So if we can talk about God in ways that connect with people and can allow them to understand more, I don't see what's wrong with it. You know,
Yeah.
personally, I don't see any issues with that if that brings people nearer or wanting to understand more and wanting to learn more. Because
Yeah.
personally, I can't sit there and read the King James version of the Bible. I'm here with the NIV version, and I'm good, right? Because we all need patience and different understanding. You know,
Right.
so just because we're using the word gangster, like again, as you said, it's not to be taken literally, right? That's our truth.
Yeah.
That's our
And that's
trans.
how the Bible is too. Like it's not everything in the Bible is literal. Like some of
Yeah,
the stuff is like figurative or
right.
has a deeper meaning. You gotta like have that open mindedness
Mhm.
um to those kind of things. And
Right.
like if you're confused or you feel a little conflicted, it's okay to
Mhm.
ask questions. For
Exactly.
clarity, it's okay to ask questions to understand where the person's coming from because again, like it could be triggering. Some words can be triggering for
Right.
people.
But don't
Like,
combat a person. Yeah. Just what did you
yeah. So
that?
it's
I
just
was
like,
just
asking for that clarity to understand the person. And even if you still don't agree, just like I hear you. I hear you.
yeah. Yeah.
You can
Exactly.
leave it like that. Like,
Nobody's trying to force their view, like force anything on you. Like we're still our own being. So I agree with that. Just and this could go for the comment section too. You know what I mean? Like because people,
yeah.
I
I had said that. I said like, this is
yeah,
a judgment free space and there's gonna be a lot of things that we don't talk to each other the same.
right.
And we don't agree entirely the same with each other,
Mhm.
but you respectfully disagree. Like you
Yeah.
respectfully go,
Mhm.
I see it like this, and that's just how I see it, or
Exactly.
I hear you, and like one thing about Tim Ross, he taught me about the ands because, and now sometimes I be all technical with people, but like,
Okay.
and instead of but, it's so like,
It's
it makes such a difference. It
Yup.
makes such a difference.
And it's like
Like,
I'm adding on to what you're saying. But it's like,
yeah,
well, but so like almost
it's
your
like taking it away.
precedence over what the other person.
Yeah, yeah. So I like that, and even if it don't sound right, and you just that means you just have to use a little bit more wordplay after you use the word and,
Right.
like,
Right.
So I
Right.
love that and thing. Y'all gonna hear me. I used to always say but I'm trying to transition into saying and, like,
Yeah,
when I'm
I
talking
like
about
that.
certain things.
I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We done talked about a
So
lot. We got more.
we're gonna switch out of our frosty social lounge and switch it to the cozy corner.
Okay. Okay.
um So one thing I wanted to talk about today, and I felt like it would be really dope to talk about it with you, just because we've seen each other from childhood till now, and I feel like it would be a dope conversation because we could like feed off of each other and stuff like that.
Now.
So, you remember in elementary school,
Mm-hmm.
they always used to ask us, "What do you want to be when you grow up?"
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we had our moments, like, in elementary school I wanted to be Beyonce,
Uh-huh.
and in middle school I wanted to be a baker.
Yep.
Then in middle school into high school I wanted to be the world famous trumpet player. Then I
Uh-huh.
wanted to be a musical theater person. Then I wanted to be something, like, I always wanted to be something, like, it always shifted. And I feel like the better question would have been, how do you want your life to be? Like, what do you see your life looking like? Well, like, can you paint me a picture of what you want your life to look like, kind of thing? And I learned that question from being in a mentorship program. And
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, yo, that question should be asked more, because, like, that's something that can always change. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like that's something that makes sense, that changes. Like,
Right.
when you were a kid, you might have said, I want to be on a boat. And then you find out when you're 12 that you don't really like boats because it makes you
Yeah.
seasick.
Right.
Like, that makes sense as to why it's changing. Versus, like, when you put it in a bubble of what do you want to be when you grow up? And now you're thinking in your head, oh, I want to be a doctor, and you start seeking schools to be a doctor, and deep down you went through all the school or whatever the case is, and now you don't really want to be a doctor, and now you feel kind of like defeated, like, I
Yeah.
gotta pivot my whole life after I spent 8+ years, and you know
Right.
versus kind of like going with emotions and realizing what you really love, which would then develop into where you want to, like, transition into.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. What do I want my life to look like? I feel like we did talk about this a little bit before, and I feel like a lot of it is the same, but some of it is like a little different, maybe.
Right.
Can't remember. But I would say like I've always known I want to help people, and I'm trying to like. It's interesting because okay, no, actually, let me think that. When people ask me what I wanted to be when I grew up, it changed multiple times, like you said. I wanted to be a veterinarian. I wanted to be a fashion designer. I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be an occupational therapist. Now I'm like, okay, I want to be an SLP. Um, and I think all of it is kind of related in the way of like I want to help people, and I feel like God has given me a gift to help people. I feel like that's my ministry. As far as like how I present myself in the world. Um, at least I'm starting to realize that now. And so yeah, that is like a part of my life. I still always see myself helping people, whether or not it's I'm just claiming it through my own private practice or through helping somebody at my church, helping somebody in my community, whatever it is. I still see myself helping people. But I know I said before I want my life to be a soft life, And I remember the other day we were talking about, Vaneiqua, what does that even mean? Like, what do you mean by soft life? Because people have different interpretations of it. And I
Yeah,
think
it's like commonly used all over social media now.
it is. But for me, my soft life is being comfortable, is living
Mm.
comfortably. It's not having to worry about certain financial woes and worrying about other things and living paycheck to paycheck and things like that. Like, I just want to be able to live financially comfortably. I want to be able to spend time with my friends and family. But I not to name drop the other podcast that you were talking about, Self Life with Christ. I think that's something that I didn't add in before when we had this conversation that I want to add in now, which is that self life will be through Christ. So whatever it is, wherever it is God leads me to, that will be my self life. And I'm praying that it's a financially comfortable space. I'm praying that it's a space where I don't have to wake up and go to work for somebody else. I can work for myself, or like we said, my business can work for me, and I can be able to spend time, ample time, with no limit, with my friends and my family and my future family, and travel and see the world. So that is what I want life to look like. That is how I want my life to look like.
When I think of a soft life,
Mm-hmm.
um, and you know what it is? I don't think of my lifestyle as a soft life. Like
Mm.
I feel like it's a
There, I feel like it's not for everybody. Like it depends on how
yeah, like the soft life is not for everybody, even though it sounds nice.
right. It depends on how you define the term. Like my definition of that may be different from somebody else's. So you don't
Right.
have to categorize your life as a soft life, but it could be a life that's fit for you. You know.
Like I feel like my like you so I feel like soft life is like a slogan, you know? So
Mm.
like
Yeah.
when someone asks like, what like how's your life going? Ah, it's a soft life. Like, like I
Yeah.
feel like that's the slogan behind it because everything you said is tied into that. For
Right.
me, I feel like mine's is like I gotta take a second to think. Bear with me. um
I love the word hustle. I feel like it's a hustle life, but not hustle in a way where it's like struggle, but in a hustle of like, oh, I have this idea, I have this thing, I have that thing, I want to start this, I want to start that. Um, I want to help people in this way, I want to help people in that way. That's how I see that from my perspective of knowing you and being your friend for so long.
yeah.
But yes, that's just my opinion. I don't know if that helps a little bit, but
No, it did. I feel like I'm on my like hmm. I don't know. I'm trying to like think of a word. I guess I could describe it and maybe you'll pop up a word from it. But
Mhm,
my life, like you said, I
mhm,
kind of have that hustle mentality where it's like I just want my hands on multiple things.
right.
And all the businesses that I've created, they
Mhm,
altered because I before in creating it, it was more like get this money and be
mhm,
outside. Like I'll be good. Like, I'll be financially stable. I'll be able to take care of my family and all that stuff.
mhm.
And then I was like, yo, if I had $1 billion today,
Uh-huh.
I once I have my house and stuff like that, I could really care less about the money. Like
Right.
I want to help people. Like I want to see people win. Like I just want to see orphans, widows. Like I have a thing for kids. Like I love kids so much. So it's like I want to help people. So all my businesses now is how can I help you?
Right.
Like how can I give to you? How can what I'm doing impact your life where
Mhm.
your life is now for the better? And
Right.
it's not only about me getting money cuz I feel like once you really start um messing with God and really like being in tune with him, like
Mhm.
you gonna be rich. You're gonna if it's made for you to have money and live the lifestyle that you desire,
Mhm.
and your desire doesn't go against him, and or he doesn't see it getting to a point where you what you used to do in praising him turns into you praising yourself, kind of thing. Like, as long as he doesn't see that kind of stuff with you, he's gonna grant you that. He's gonna bless you with that. Because he knows that you can steward it right. So I feel like me, if I steward my businesses right in his foundation, I'm gonna be good regardless. And now it's about making sure other people can, get that goodness along with them,
Right. I like
so
that.
it's just like mine's is like, so when you said the hustle life, it's the hustle life, but it's something else because
Right.
I'm also, and you know what it is? I need
like the philanthropy.
Maybe my word is soft hustle. I'm in my soft hustle life because there's a softness to me. There's a softness to me where like I'm chilling. I want to spend time with my family, my friends, when I have kids and stuff like that. And, I want to see the world and I want to do all these other things.
Mm-hmm.
And I also have a soft spot for people, like in general. Like before, a wheelchair person could pass by and I'll be like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
And I keep pushing it. Now I see a wheelchair person, I'm like, oh, like,
yeah, it's a level of empathy.
Is there anything I could do for you? Like the empathy is like growing. Like I'll see a wheelchair person in a movie and I'll start.
I would say I think that's the word for it. I think you're looking for like philanthropy. Like you want to be essentially a philanthropist, where you're helping people. But I do like the term, like the the little slogan of soft hustle. I like that.
Yeah.
Hustle not in the way of secular, like what people may think, but that's your definition of it,
Yeah. It's like just putting my hands on multiple things and just stewarding it in a way that's doing right, right and noble.
Mm-hmm. And you made a good point when God is in the midst, when God is in the midst of things, but also when it's a part of His will for you, He will make it happen. Period. Because there's nothing He can't do. There's no mountain He can't move. There's nothing He can't give to you. And we talked about, again, our Bible study, man. It be hitting. We might have to name drop it eventually, but I'll cherish it for now. But we do want it to grow. But in the way of like, kind of lost my train of thought. But yeah, when it's of His will, He will give that to you. But sometimes if there's things that we do, not to change the subject a little bit, things that we may want for ourselves that is not a part of His plan, we can still do it because it's of His will. I mean, switching my words up. We can still do it because we have free will, but that doesn't always mean it'll work out if He's not in the center of it. If you keep Him locked out of that thing. So because all of your businesses you're praying over them, you're talking with God, you're communicating with God about them and what He sees.
Inviting Him in to put His hand on it.
Right. So when He has His hand on it and you let Him do that, there's no saying that, like, it will not fail. So get ready.
Amen. Nah, for real. And like to switch it to a more intense topic. I feel like when people make, or not, I don't even want to say people. There's been people that I've encountered in my life that made it seem like when you start seeking Him, it's going to be rainbows and sunshine and and don't get me wrong, there are a lot of those moments like where you're just like, hey, like, right? But then there's a lot of times where you're getting beat up. Like you're getting jacked up. And one pastor has said, he said, the part where you give your life to Christ. Like, when people are in church and they decide they want to give their life to Him, he said at the end of it, it should say, "Are you ready to die?" Like
I mean, listen.
Because like you dying to yourself, you dying to your old life, you dying to yourself, you dying to all those desires and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
then like you about to go into a battle that like you wasn't expecting, like like you wasn't ready for. You're about to battle the unseen. Like in the Bible it says your the war is not against flesh and blood, it's against the other things that we don't see. So it's just like when you step into your war, not to scare anybody or whatever.
Mhm.
I just feel like it's real talk.
It is.
It gets a little like the enemy comes after you
Yeah.
because
He doesn't want you to have that
think
relationship.
about it like this.
Yeah.
Right. Think about it like this. This is the best way I can like make the picture.
Hmm.
When you say, for example, you was out here living your life up and you doing whatever you want, right? The enemy could look at it as like, I don't even gotta touch that person because
Right. Doing the destruction themselves.
he is
Yeah.
settled right here.
Yeah.
He good. And then you have another person who is like, all right, they're they do good sometimes and they do bad sometimes. Like they in the in between. It's more like I feel like the enemy with that person is like, let me just watch them
Right.
and have some people, have some things, make
Hmm.
sure that they don't go too far off the deep end.
Yeah.
And then
Yep.
when you start deciding and you officially go like, I'm gonna seek God and I want that relationship, he's like, oh no, you did not. Get
Uh-huh.
him, get
Yeah.
him, get him. I don't want them to be happy. I don't. No. They gonna
Yeah.
suffer with me. I want y'all all
Uh-huh.
down miserable with me. Bring her
Hmm.
back. Bring
Yeah.
him back now. Like, and
Hmm.
then so what is that? What is that? Opt you into? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
like there's sometimes where
And he
you
knows
might
what
just
you're
feel
doing.
sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
And he
watched
will
you. He
snip
watched you.
another
Like,
happen later. Yeah.
He'll. I had said this before, and when I was talking to somebody, I feel like I said it in the Bible study too.
Mm.
Like when you in communication with God, you have like this shield over you. Like
Mm.
you have this shield. Like you just think of you got this gold shield, nice up and everything. Cause you be praying, you be talking to him every day. Right, the armor, right? And then maybe throughout the day, this is just an example.
Yeah.
Say you start being gluttonous, you
Hmm.
start cursing a little bit, you seen a boy and yeah, you start you went after him and started flirting with him and see what's up, like hot girl summer, right? Like, and in the midst of that, these are just examples, I'm not saying this is the actual case, but in the midst of that, their whole armor now got little holes in it.
Yeah.
And this, the enemy's watching you, so when maybe one of his minions is like, oh, she got a hole right there. Yo, fear. She kicked
Mm.
you out, but you can get in right there
Hmm.
and bring all your friends too, and we gonna bring her back. We gonna
Yeah.
bring it back, and don't get me wrong, God gonna help you fight all that because he got that. He, like I tell you, he a holy gangster, so he gonna take care of you. He gonna wah 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 wah
Yes.
wah wah. He gonna send his soldiers in marching, like
But you
he gonna help you. He
to
gonna
get
help you out, but like in that moment,
hey, the key to getting
you
the
you
help
might feel that.
though. Right. I was gonna say sorry, not to cut you off. I was gonna say like the key to getting
No,
him to
you're
help
good.
is prayer, your word, knowing your word, like things like that. We just had a whole Bible study based on spiritual warfare, and what mine is just talking about
Yeah,
spiritual warfare or a component of it. Um, and
right.
yeah, but to continue, I like that scenario. But I always love how your imagery and how you describe things because it's so vivid in a way that makes sense. But it's like, yeah, you got holes in your armor now. Like you letting those things in. And I wanted to
Yeah,
also comment on you said like building a relationship with Christ is it's joyful and it's wonderful, but it's not always easy. And you said that, you do have to die to self. And we just talked about this scripture, this Bible verse is Luke 9:23, and it says like we die to self daily. meaning
Mm-hmm.
this whole conversation of you have to keep choosing God every day, the moment you wake up, the moment you like every day, over and over. I argue every moment, second, hour of the day is a
Mm-hmm.
decision to choose Him over and over, and to like invite Him in constantly. Like I remember
Yeah.
we were talking and you were like, even when you're you know, I mean, people pray for traveling mercies and things like that. But it is important to do that before you get in your car, before you get on the bus, the train. Like, it's important to invite
Father
God.
God, guide my hand. Like,
Yeah.
something as simple as that.
I
Because
always, sorry, not to cut you off again, but my prayer
no,
always,
no, you good, you good.
God protect me from the things that I can't see, from the things that
Mm-hmm.
whatever weapons people may have. And if you know New York City and the New York City public transit, especially the trains, and I don't take the train often,
Especially
but
nowadays.
there are people, God bless their souls, that are not in their right mind. They could do like, you just never know, right? You never know what is on somebody's mind, what's in their heart, what they may be planning or not. So my prayer always is, God protect me from the things that I can't see, and no weapons formed against me will prosper. Because, and I always say, God, form a bubble, a shield of protection around me to protect me from those things and get me to my destination, to and from safely. So said all
And I
that to
feel like even if you go throughout the day and you get a little bit of holes in you, when you still stay in communion with him, he patches them up. He's like, oh, okay.
yeah.
All right. All right. And then another thing is like I didn't make this reference. I got this reference from somebody.
Mm,
But like your body's like Michael Myers. Like
mm.
this
Yeah, always,
hey.
always,
Like it's just
always.
here. It comes back. It will find you. You don't even know how it got here. Like
Yeah,
you're
always
like, yo. Like
moving
it's like,
forward.
hey, you wanna have sex? Okay,
Uh-huh.
you ready? No, 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 I don't want
Like,
it.
hey, wanna be anxious today?
Run.
Like, hey, wanna have depression today? Like, always there. Always there.
Yeah.
Like,
So
again,
you on constantly gotta just woo musa.
mm-hmm. I yeah, I really like that you said. I really like the die to self daily, but it's that and choosing God daily. So the first
Mm-hmm.
part to me is actively like composing yourself against certain vices, certain weaknesses, um, but also in that same breath, and again, not easy, because there's things I'd be like, God, I was my own thing today. I don't know what happened. And then there's times where it's like the second part of that is choosing God all the time, every not leaning on your own understanding, not leaning on your own whatever feeling and things like that. Just knowing, like having that faith, like God, like some I'm calling you. I'm gonna pray to you right now. I need to listen to my worship music right now. Like, to me, it's a constant choice to open up my Apple Music and strategically go like press scroll to get to my gospel playlist when my regular library is all secular music. That's
Has everything in it.
right. That's one of the choices that you make. You know, um, yeah, that's my little two cents.
So I got a question.
Okay.
So right now, and
Hmm.
I feel like this would be good to talk about because there's probably some people who go through this.
Okay.
So right now in your walk, sometimes you can fall.
Yeah.
Like it happens. Like
This.
sometimes you be a little weak. You be weary. Like
I
and
so we be tripping. We could trip on them cracks.
yeah. So like in your, I guess anything recent or right now, like if you've fallen, if you want to go into detail on like how you fallen and how you moving after
Yeah.
that, that's dope. But
Okay.
just in case you don't want to reveal too much, like when was the time that recently that you fallen, and what was the feeling during, what was the feeling after, and then how did you move forward from it?
Okay. So I'm gonna just talk about it. We're really stepping into the diary. Okay, like this is full transparency. So, um, okay, I'm in a relationship, Shout out to Shamik. But I'm in a relationship going on 3 years, right? We were
Goals.
not celibate. We're not. We're long distance, but we've also have not been celibate throughout our relationship. You know, we've been doing our thing, but we don't see each other frequently. But I did see him. You know, I when I am able to see him, we're able to spend time with each other. But sometimes that time also means, you know, being intimate with one another. But growing stronger in my relationship with God, as my said, you know, it's not. I'm not gonna say not appropriate. Um, it's not appropriate to have sex before marriage, right? So that's something that I've always been struggling with, but also like something that I know I shouldn't be doing. It's something that I'm still trying to sort through and work on. And um, I was telling my Asia that my realization about that was that I was putting in my relationships, I was putting too much emphasis on that as opposed to just being with the person instead of like, and especially in a long distance relationship, my current long distance relationship, I would put so much emphasis on it. Like, I can't believe we didn't do it yet. You know, like we see each other for 6 months. This is day two that I'm seeing you. TikTok, like, you know what I'm saying? So putting too much emphasis on that as opposed to um like we would still do our things, hang out, go to dinner, go on dates, and all of that. But in my mind, I would still be like, "Oh, are we gonna do it this time or are we gonna do that time?" Like it was too heavy. I was putting too much weight on it when I shouldn't have been. And I think that's a big realization that recently I've come to realize, and recently I thank God for allowing me to realize that is not all a relationship is, and to be able to connect. And we and him connect on other ways. We pray together. We do devotionals together. We openly talk about God together. He's came to my church when he was last here. Like we have that strong spiritual foundation and that we're still trying to develop. So I think God was more so telling me like, you need to focus on that, not like y'all got time, you know, like y'all could do that later, but focus on that. And that is something again I'm still struggling with. Um, uh, and to like bring it back, I feel like Christians don't always talk about sex, don't always talk about what that means to have a life with Christ and um like what that the meaning of that topic. And to kind of bring it all back to the question, after like I said, after I had gotten stronger in my relationship with God, I had this was actually before I had gotten baptized, but I knew I was getting baptized and I was intimate with my partner and I was like, God, I messed up, or I felt like I messed up, and I felt like I felt like I dropped the ball. I dropped the bag. I fumbled the bag. That's how I felt. Um, only to realize that God still accepted me anyway. It goes back to that point of I didn't need to be perfect. I didn't need to come to Him perfect. My agent doesn't know this, but actually, before going away to undergrad, I wanted to be baptized, but I chose not to because I knew I was going to indulge. I was like, I just knew
Oh
I wasn't going to be
wow.
perfect. I knew I was going to be drinking. I knew I was going to be partying. And that's not I knew, like, I felt like I wasn't fit for that lifestyle. But to know now, I didn't have to be, right? To air that message of you didn't have to be perfect. I still could have, I mean, I was committed to him, but I still could have committed my life to him in that way. Um, to do it to have done what I did to be intimate before getting baptized, I felt like, wow, I really found the bag. Like I wanted to be pure, I wanted to be clean, but that wasn't what I was doing the baptism for. I'll get into that a little bit later if I had the time to talk about that. But that's how it
Girl, you gonna be back on here, so you know we gonna talk about it.
even on baptism. It meant something. Everybody has their own definitions and things of it. Some people see it as the cleansing of sins. That's not necessarily what it was for me. For me, it meant something completely different. To sum it up, we could talk about it in depth later, but for me, it was more so my commitment to God. Like, God, it's you and me against the world. You take my life. Like, you know, I am yours. That's what it was for me. And for me, it was like,
Right.
to me, it was like a hot and cold moment when after that moment. So in the moment, my body did what it wanted to do, right? Even though in my heart of hearts and in my mind, I was like, Vaneiqua, you should not be doing this, But in my body, have temptation.
My body. I'm sorry. That was, R. Kelly did that song funny. Like he did.
My body was saying,
Don't shoot the viber.
yeah, my body was saying yes. So I gave into what my body wanted. And I would say my fleshly being overpowered my spiritual being in that moment. Our friend Ebony, who's the leader of our Bible study, I don't know why we haven't named dropped her before. Love you, sis. She is the one who has gotten me to realize there's a difference between your fleshly self and your spiritual self. And for in that moment, my fleshly self took over. So I did what I wanted to do. After that, immediately after that, I was like, oh man, I messed up. Like I felt disappointed in myself, and I felt like God was disappointed in me. Um, and I actually talked to my boyfriend about that, and I be having my moments, y'all. And he was like just accepting of it, letting me talk about it and how bad I felt. And I was like, now I'm gonna be celibate. That's it. No more. I'm still working on it, y'all. Like I'm still praying over that. But it's nice to have a partner that's like accepting of it regardless. He's accepting of me regardless of my decisions, regardless. He respects my bodily autonomy and my spiritual decisions, and he understands the places that I'm coming from. So I was able to talk to him openly about it. I prayed about it, so that's what I did after. Still to this moment, I forgave myself as God forgives me. And I gave myself a little bit of grace, but I know that I need to hold myself to a higher standard, and this is my personal opinion of that and for me. So yeah, that's what happened. That
Look
is,
at you being all transparent and hot.
please don't use this against me, y'all. But this is something that, like, I feel like a lot of people can relate to. This is something that literally happened, like in my most
right.
recent, and in my spiritual growth, and it happens. And this is an example of you have to die to self daily, and you have to actively choose God. Yeah, but I don't know what the outcome is going to be. I'm still trying to work on that. Yeah, yeah. And as you mentioned
I hear
before,
you,
like, you
friend.
said something about like, when you've experienced intimacy in that way, it's hard to withdraw from that. When you've experienced sex, it's hard to it's something about that temptation that you can't let go of. So I'm working on it. I'm working on it. But yeah.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Aw,
They
that's
gonna
so
hear this.
cute.
Oh yeah.
Nah, that was good though. I felt like that was like real stuff that people go through, like
Yeah.
So that was really dope to hear
Mhm.
you speak on it.
Yeah.
So with me, I just been battling heavy anxiety. Like
Mhm.
it's been bad, like bad, like to the point where I got to a like transparent moment. And don't make fun of me.
This
um,
space.
I know, but I had such bad anxiety, and it always happened at night. It was, it was like a switch every night. It was like at night I start to get anxious, and it's not like I honestly I it would have been okay if it was just a hyperventilating because I can handle that for the most part. But whenever anxiety comes at me, it physically affects me. Like it physically affects my body. Like my chest will start to hurt. It mimics the symptoms of actual like dangerous or diseases that would say like it will mimic a stroke, it will mimic a heart attack symptoms, it will mimic all of that, and you'll go on Google and you're like oh, I gotta go to the hospital. God forbid, of course. And I felt like that every night. Like I felt like that every night to the point where I had episodes where I'm going to urgent care like every day. and they at the end of it is just saying, yeah, you have anxiety. And I'm looking at them like, no, you're not gonna do me like you do these other people and tell them, oh, you're fine. And then 3 months later, there was something there the whole time. And that's where my brain was going. Cause for me, I've always been a healthy person. I've always been healthy by the grace of God. It's been people around me who have gotten sick. And so I don't understand why I kept putting that on myself. And it was just like, yo, you're gonna get sick because you're making yourself sick because you're afraid of getting sick. Like, chill. Like, take every day worry about just today,
Right.
and stuff like that. And then I started to feel like, because I'm repping Jesus, I'm repping God, and I'm over here like, God got me, God got me. But I'm like, yo, there's obviously some unbelief and truth to the feeling. Like, like it's like, I trust you, but like I had the but in there. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like right now I turned it into the end. So I guess prior to that, right? The anxiety is bad. I was going to urgent care every second. My mom had to like sleep in my room for a little bit because I wanted her to watch me, make sure I'm breathing and everything. And it was bad, like, and I finally broke out of that and I started, diving into my word more and specifically scriptures that talk about like fear. Like I didn't know until like the other day that Jesus was scared. Like I got so like as like sick as it sounds, I was like, you were scared? Yes. Like, it let me know that he felt the way I felt. Like he's literally, we know that he feels the
Knows
way
how
we
you
feel.
feel.
But it
Mm-hmm.
was like really good to see it like in text right in front of me, him being scared, like him being, slightly fearful. But
Mm-hmm.
his fear didn't let him take him off the path. It was like he had fear, and then he was like, "All right, well,
Do it.
it is.
Yeah.
I trust you. Your will is your will. Let's whatever happens happens." And
Right.
I was like, I gotta move. When I have real trust in him, even in the moments where I'm feeling fearful, I'll trust that he'll carry me through. Like
Yeah.
he ain't come. I ain't come this far for him to just leave me. So and I'm at the point where when I do get anxious and I do get that feeling of anxiety, I take a second. I do my exercises, like, they taught me different exercises on how to like control the physical, like help maintain the flesh. So
Mm-hmm.
like I would squeeze ice
Uh,
to calm me down. I would do breathing exercises.
mm,
I would self check myself. Like I would do an ECG, blood pressure, and blood oxygen, so that my brain can see you're fine. Like
right.
you don't need to go to the doctor, hospital, or nothing. You're seeing
Yeah,
you're
you're
fine.
okay.
Taking my temperature, stuff like that. So I would do that sometimes when it was at its peak.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like I changed my diet and what I inhale, especially closer to nighttime, so that I'm not triggering myself either.
Right.
And then I talk to God. I let him, I'm like, yo, you know how I'm feeling right now. We're gonna acknowledge it.
Mm-hmm.
Anxiety's messing with me right now. I know you got me. I know you don't give me the spirit of fear. I know that, you're with me. So let's get through this night together, because I know you're gonna wake me up for tomorrow. So we're gonna be all right. And I'm like confident in what he's preached through the Bible. Like I'm confident in what his teaching in the Bible has taught. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
confident that even if it is my time to go, like it's within his will. So just take it one step at a time. At the end of the day, I know he got more for me right now, so I shouldn't be
Yeah.
worried. Just take it easy and
Yeah.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been my crutch
Mm-hmm.
lately, and I've been getting better control, and I feel like it's because I'm trusting him more. Like I'm like I'm not just reading his word and saying it sounds nice. Like I'm like, all right,
You're applying.
I'm gonna trust that this is it. Like this is set in stone. Like,
Yeah,
you
and
know?
it is. I like that, and I'm glad that you were transparent about that too. Um,
Yeah.
and I was just gonna add to the idea of like there are definitely so when I would feel stressed or anxious or nervous too, I know that there's a few scriptures that I lean heavily on. Um, there's one that says I have them on my prayer board. Maybe we'll get into that another time.
Yeah.
But one of them is like cast your cares on him because he cares for you. And that's like sometimes like
Mm-hmm.
simple ones like that are ones that I would repeat to myself over and over and over again just to settle myself. Like he cares for you.
Right.
Give it to him. He has it. Like he got it. There's another one. Uh you said something about taking it day by day. You know, like
Mm-hmm. There's
it's
another scripture that says that.
I think it's Matthew chapter 6 verse 34, and that's because that's the one I
Mm-hmm.
preached about that whole chapter. But in the end it says, so do not worry about tomorrow, for each day has trouble of its own. Tomorrow will worry about itself. And
Mm-hmm.
just heirs to that, you know, like you can't you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. So just focus on today, get through today, and we'll get through tomorrow, you know.
And there's also another Matthew scripture where he's
Mm,
specifically talking about, the birds eat. Like, the
yes.
flowers are clothed beautifully. Like, if I take care of them,
Mm-hmm.
and aren't you more precious than they are? So,
It's that
obviously, like, he's going to take care of you even more because he has more of a connection with you than
yeah.
just the simple flowers and the
Mhm.
animals and stuff like that. So I
I
always read that one to kind of like remind me, like, I'm
mhm.
important.
Yeah, and I'm happy you brought that up because for a while, um, I really love that part of that scripture. I think that's also Matthew chapter 6. I just don't remember which verse.
Yeah, I just don't remember what verse. Yeah,
But Maverick City, love them.
love them.
Have, they have this song called Gyra, and in one of the verses, Naomi Rain sings this part that says, "If he dresses the lilies with beauty and splendor, how much more
Oh
will
yes,
And if he watches over every little bird in the sky, how much more does he love you?" And that part hits all the time. I
all
could
the time.
cry on that part because it's so true. If every little living, breathing thing, the bugs, the birds, if he watches over all of them and makes sure they're good, don't you think he will make sure you're good? Like I love that. If I could meet her and tell her I love that part, I would.
No, listen, she can sing like
Yes. Yes.
like God literally said your voice will touch the world,
Yes.
and
Yes.
she just every one of her songs, like even her own personal album, that I don't feel like it was fully Christian, but I feel like it was good. Like it wasn't
Yeah.
nothing negative or anything like that.
It was
She had
inspirational.
it was inspirational. Boom, that's what it was. And I was like, yo, I felt everything, like to the point where I cried. I was like, yo, this lady is out here. Oh.
I know.
So, with that being said,
Mhm.
how I like to or want to close these out is
Yeah.
putting a song. You're going to tell a song, you're going to
Okay.
pick a song, tell a song,
Okay.
of, you know, that will relate to how you're feeling right now.
Okay. So my
Not
song.
that you love or whatever the case, that you're feeling right now, like matches
Exactly.
your current emotion right now.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I'm gonna say two
Why you doing
songs.
that? I'm gonna go look it up.
I'm gonna say two songs. I'm gonna say the song that has been on my spirit for a few weeks. Um, not necessarily related to this conversation that we had, but the song that has been on my spirit for the last week has been "Firm Foundation." He won't by I think that's Maverick City. I'm gonna look it up really quick too. Um, let me see.
Firm Foundation is my song. I love that song.
It's my I love it. So yeah, it's by Maverick City Music and Chandler Moore. And just go listen to it. You'll see. I love that song, but a song related to the conversation. Let me find it. Did you find? Did you find your song?
Yeah, I got mine.
Okay.
Mine's is Miracles by Miracles, and the artist is Transformation Worship.
Okay.
That song that they sing Miracles, it like I feel so like it says it's gonna work, it's gonna move, giants will fall, nothing's too big for you. You know, I
I gotta
see your
listen to that
hand.
one.
You know, it's so good. And the young man who sings, he sings so well.
I'm gonna
And
download. I'll listen to that. I've never
yeah,
heard
that song is fire. That song is fire. I hope they do an album. I believe they're gonna release an album in October, but that song is
Oh, I love that.
and then this one's kind of like a hood, like I don't want to call it a hood Christian. I'm trying to. It's what's it called? It's Cece. It's from Cece.
Okay.
I'm trying to pull up the name real quick because I just had it.
I think I found my song. My other song, kind of related to the conversation. I feel like, but the song is "For All My Life," and it's by this girl named Taya. She's an Australian
Ooh.
artist, and she sang with Hillsong Church. But recently, Naomi Rain, Natalie Grant, Tasha Cobbs, and Taya went on tour. And me and my sister went to them. That's our thing we're doing now. It's gospel concerts, and my husband we're gonna come to the next one, which everyone will be fine.
Yes.
Whoever goes on tour, we're gonna be there. And she sang this song, and it's called "For All My Life." And it basically goes like, "I'll let you leave me for all my life. When my trials get a little heavy, like who do I turn to?" It's just listen to it. It's good. And there's a part in it that says, "You said your yoke is easy. You said your burden is light. So I'll let you lead me for all my life." So I feel like that's what we've been talking about. I got chills about that, but I feel like that's what we've been talking about is like God leading us through different moments in our life and our spiritual growth. So I feel like that relates to our conversation. But yeah, go listen to them songs.
So my other song is "Why Would I" by Child Like Cece.
Oh.
And I just want to quote one of the things. She says, so why would I? He paid a price I could never afford. So why would I argue with you when I'm talking to God every day trying to seek him? Why would I fight with a fool when I'm fighting my flesh? Give it to God and he handled the rest. Like I feel like that's like how I feel right now. And then just a song that's been on my spirit is like I sing it around the house a little bit is Tamla Mann's I can only imagine.
Oh yeah.
Because I read something the other day that talked about I think David trembled at the angel Gabriel. I think that's what happened. And I was just like, dang, if he trembled at him, like what am I gonna do like with the real thing? Like what am I gonna do when I actually like if I actually get to see these things that I don't see, like you know.
And it said
so
like I fathomable for us. Like it's a sense of overwhelming to see the glory of God. Like we feel his presence, and even that alone is overwhelming.
Alone just makes you cry and get on your knees.
And everything, the atmosphere is set, and you just feel God in that place. I don't know. Listen, I don't know if y'all felt that, but it's something that takes over, and you just break down and I break down and cry. Others shout, others yell, others whatever. But imagine that's a little feeling. Now imagine seeing. I can only imagine. I can only imagine.
Yeah. So y'all got like 6 to 7 songs that y'all can like filter through for this week. And we will see you guys soon. We hope you enjoyed. We know it's kind of a long episode today, but I feel like it was good. If y'all gotta break it up and eat it in pieces, like, you know, it is what it is. If y'all have any like questions, don't be afraid to comment, DM her, DM me, DM the actual podcast website and Instagram and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And make sure y'all turn on your notifications so that y'all know when to come back again. Like, even though we're gonna release an episode every Wednesday, you know, y'all still want to be in tune, and just in case there's any schedules switching up and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, love you guys, and see you next time when we turn the next page. Bye.